We're going to look this week at the birth chart for Albert Einstein, a famous physicist, someone who is said to be a genius. He has, we look at the Eastern, we're using the sidereal zodiac, not the Western tropical zodiac, because it's much more accurate. It's, if you were to ask an astronomer where the planets are when Albert Einstein was born, they would be using the sidereal zodiac. The Western zodiac is based on where the planets were 2,000 years ago. So because of the wobble of the Earth, there's a 23 degree, usually the sun sign is about 23 degrees behind where the sun sign would be in the Western chart. So anyway, we don't put as much emphasis on the sun sign as we do the ascendant sign. The sun sign changes every 30 days, the moon sign changes every 2.5 days, and the ascendant sign changes every 2.5 hours. So this is a much more accurate reading of someone's chart. And so if you were to look at the eastern horizon when Albert Einstein was born, you would see the constellation of Taurus rising at 23 degrees and 36 minutes. 29 degrees and 36 minutes. And so Taurus rising, we know that they are an earth sign, a fixed sign that can be stubborn. They're very, very creative. And when he was born, we look at in everybody's chart. We see how the planets are operating, when they're operating, and what we can do to fix that chart. So fix your chart, fix your life, basically, is what we're doing in transformational Vedic astrology. But when the planets are operating is in terms of the dasha periods, the planetary periods called Vimshatari dashas. And we also look at the transits. So when Albert Einstein was born, he was running a Mercury Moon dasha period. This is kind of like the root of the tree of life. And so we look at that and we see that Mercury, which is creativity and genius-like qualities, he was in a main period of Mercury and a sub-period of Moon. Moon is ruling this house of entrepreneurial success, so that through his genius or creativity, he gained entrepreneurial success. So this kind of sets the tone for his life. And we'll go through the other dasha periods in a few minutes. But I wanted to just kind of look at where all the planets, where you see 4 of his planets are in this house of income. This is a really, really good chart. I mean, in terms of having a lot of strong planets in this house of income. It means fulfillment of desires. This house, this 11th house, is income, fulfillment of desires, and friends. So, so we see Sun, which is very weak. Sun is leadership and father. I think his father left at a very young age to go work in another country or somewhere else, so didn't get much support from his father. And we have Sun is ruling this house of family, so his family was not all there, basically. And also he did not have strong family relationships. He had multiple marriages. Mercury, which is ruling this 5th house of children, education, investments, and creativity, is fairly well placed, and it definitely could be strengthened, because Mercury in the sign of Taurus here is debilitated, so that means it's weak. So if it was strengthened, he could have had probably better situation in terms of investments and creativity, although he was very creative. Saturn, which is ruling the house of career, and in this house of income, Saturn, gives good discipline and focus, which he definitely had. But also, Saturn is weak, because it is it's afflicted, and we'll go into that in a minute. Venus is one of his functional malefic planets. So in transformational Vedic astrology, typically Saturn would be functional malefic anyway, but in some charts it is actually a benefic planet. So we tell the functional malefics from the functional benefics by where the signs are. So if you have a multicorona sign, which is 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11 in any of the challenging houses, which is the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th house. So all of the planets, all the houses teach us certain lessons in life. And but the most challenging ones are the 6th house, which has to do with enemies, conflicts, health issues, financial issues, legal issues. And then the 8th house, which has to do with obstacles and accidents and things like that. And then the 12th house, which has to do with end of life, separation, feeling detached, depressed, sleep issues, sexual issues. So those things, the ruler of the sign that's in the 7th sign, which is Libra, which is ruled by Mercury, Mercury becomes a functional malefic. Then the 9th sign, which is Sagittarius, it's ruled by Jupiter, so Jupiter becomes a functional malefic. The 1st sign, which is Aries, ruled by Mars, becomes functional malefic. And aside from Rahu and Ketu, all the rest of the planets, Moon, Sun, Saturn, and Libra is ruled by Venus, so Venus is a functional malefic. Mercury is not a functional malefic. So anyway, so Venus is the other functional malefic. So Mercury are all benefic, and the rest are all malefic. Now, just a quick thing. Rahu and Ketu aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. They are not close to within 5 degrees of the rising sign degree. So in Einstein's chart, I don't think they're causing much damage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So Rahu is benign. It's not afflicting any other planets or any other houses, except in the transit chart occasionally. And Ketu is, I went the wrong direction. I'm sorry. Anticlockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 6, 7, no, 8, 9, no. And then Ketu, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So Ketu is technically afflicting Mercury, and that's why it's weak, and Saturn, and that's why it's weak. So other than that, there's not much, they're not causing a lot of trouble. The functional malefic planets like Venus it aspects 7 houses away, so there's nothing in the 7th house, no issues there. And Jupiter afflicts 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Jupiter's not afflicting anything, and it's not within 5 degrees of the rising sign degree. We call this the most effective point of every house. So anyhow, anything that's within 5 degrees of that can have some impact. That 29 degrees. So say from 4 degrees to 4 degrees, basically. Anything within that range. So like Venus is within that range. Just barely though. So not much. And let's see. That's it. Nothing within that. So Venus not afflicting anything, Jupiter is not afflicting anything, Mars is not afflicting anything as well. So it actually is 4, 7, and 9 houses away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 5, 6, 7, no, 8. 8 houses, yeah, so no afflictions. So even though Taurus has a lot of functional malefic planets, in Einstein's chart, the only afflictions are from K2 to Saturn and Mercury. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah, these two. So let's just keep going through. The Sun, yeah, is ruling family, and Mercury is ruling creativity. Saturn rules the 10th house of career, and Venus is ruling. It's exalted, and it's ruling the 6th house, which has to do with health and issues and conflicts and things like that. And so all these planets in here, they give good income through some leadership, some creativity, some discipline, and some arts. He was also a musician, loved to play Mozart and different things. I think violin, I'm not sure. So, yeah, and he loved beauty. He actually liked astrology as well. So you see, astrology is part of Venus is fine arts, performing arts, healing arts, and the occult sciences. So Ayurveda, Jyotish, Vastu. So that gives good income, good intuition about astrology. So Moon is ruling the house of entrepreneurial success, communication, and it's pretty well placed. But it could also be strengthened. So he got a lot of intuition, I think. And his wife, now he's in this house of relationship. So Moon is also can be wife, and so he, I think his first wife helped him a lot in the theory of relativity. She was also a physicist, a scientist. So let's see. And quite beautiful as well. So let's see. Mars is exalted, and although it's a functional malefic, it rules this 12th house of foreign lands. So he moved to Switzerland very early on. Didn't want to be in Germany. I think part of it was Hitler and things like that. And then later on, he moved to the United States, where I think he had more freedom to do what he wanted to do. He did not like, populist type of politics. He liked more well, he did like populists. He didn't like socialism, a dictatorship type of situation. And so Mars is in this house of teaching. Rahu in this house gives desire to teach, and Jupiter is ruling this house, 8th house of research. So research, scientific research is, and Jupiter is about teaching, and it's in this house of career. So career through teaching and all that. Now, one other thing about Mars, because it is weak, he had some antisocial behavior. Moon here, weak, can give multiple marriages, and lack of. He had his mental state was he did get depressed and some mental tension. And let's see here, Jupiter, we got all that. Okay, so now we see, why he was such a genius. This Mercury and this doing well here. K2 actually give good insights into his success, insights into creativity. Some little bit of a spiritual. He was kind of poetic, and if you read some of his writings, very, very poetic. Let's just go through some of the events in his life. He in 1901, he moved to Switzerland during a Venus-Mars period. Mars, again, is foreign lands, so relocation. He in 1903 he got married, and 1904 he had a son. These are during Venus-Jupiter periods. Jupiter has to do with children and Venus's wife. So that makes sense. Venus is ruling this house of conflicts, and but also it gave him, he had some financial troubles too. So I think he was pretty rebellious in his younger. He got thrown out of one school, I think. Because he's smart, I think he was a little bit brash. People took what he said the wrong way. So that weak Mercury or afflicted Mercury could have something to do with that. Let's see. In 1905 he presented the theory of relativity. So that was still all during this Venus-Jupiter being teaching period. And then he got a divorce in 1919. So that was a Sun-Mercury period. So Mercury is this house of Sun is ruling this house of family. So and it's weak. So that makes sense. Got the Nobel Peace Prize for the theory of relativity in 1922. That was a Moon-Mars period. And so Moon being mind and Mercury being intellect and publishing. So that makes sense. Then let's see here. He moved to the USA in 1933. Mars is relocation, foreign lands, to teach at Princeton, I think, and that's Jupiter. And then let's see here. He died during a Rahu-Mars period, April 18th, 1955, of an aortic aneurysm. So the weak sun has something to do with that. Sun is heart, represents heart. Rahu and Mars. So Mars is end of life. Rahu is can cause catastrophes in someone's life. And if you actually look at his transit chart, transit Rahu was afflicting transit Sun at the exact degree. So Rahu afflicting the heart, basically. Then in the 12th house of end-of-life experiences. And then transit Ketu was afflicting transit Saturn. Saturn represents longevity. So those are some of the main points of Albert Einstein's chart. Now what we could do in terms of remedies are chants and charities. So a kavash, or wearing a pearl, wearing emerald, wearing a blue sapphire, all of those could be helpful, as well as some red, no, not red coral, because that's malefic. So those are the 3 or 4 things that he could wear, but a kavash would take care of all of that. It's a locket that contains the yantras specific to moon, sun, and Mercury, and Saturn as well. So strengthening all of those would be very helpful. And then we want to transform. We don't want to strengthen. We want to transform Rahu, Ketu, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury. So we do those by listening to chants. And so we transform Mercury by helping, Venus by helping women, giving to women's organizations and listening to Lakshmi chants on Fridays, listening to Ganesh chants for Jupiter on Thursdays, and helping spiritual organizations. And then for Mars, listening to Hanuman chants on Tuesdays and helping men that are like brothers. And for K2, again, Ganesh chants on Thursdays and helping spiritual organizations. Rahu, helping people who cannot help themselves, donating to Alzheimer's, cancer research once a month or so, and also chanting Shiva chants on Saturdays. So those are the main points of Albert Einstein's chart.